USC and Michigan's come from behind wins keep their college football playoff hopes alive as we look to a path to get 4 conference teams into the playoffs. And we recap every team, every game from this exciting weekend. Locked On Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Shemon, 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer, and we are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. All right. Thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We're available wherever you get your podcasts, on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get them. Hit that free subscribe button so you never miss a single episode. And if you could, share, follow, and like, and even hype YouTube videos. That helps us out a lot. Today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. Download the GameTime app and create an account. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. So USC and Michigan, thrillers this weekend. Oregon sitting pretty. Indiana, Ohio State, they cruise. And our top 10 Big Ten observations from the weekend coming up. Let's start out with the Iowa game at USC in the rain. Deluge, 2 weeks in a row that Iowa has played in the rain. They had their game against Oregon the week before, now out at the Coliseum, where I used to live in Los Angeles. It does not rain like that very often. But USC ends up winning this game 26-21 to improve to 8-2. Iowa, 2 tough losses in a row to fall to 6-4. You know, the Hawkeyes started out great. Had the 7-play, 69-yard drive, scored a touchdown. Mark Gronowski finding Dayton Howard for the touchdown. Later on, they had the version of a tush push, Gronowski getting into the end zone. And they even had their own Philly special play where Gronowski scored. He was the receiver on the touchdown after a reverse behind him. They were up 21-7 in this ball game. And then, you know, I'm amazed Tim Lester went in. I still can't believe the Philly special play for Iowa of all people. Did you see the look on Kirk Ferentz's face and the little grin that he had just for a nanosecond? Yeah, it was very un-Iowa-like. But again, they had a lead 21-7 with 3:24 to go in the game. In fact, that was USC's largest deficit of the season. But then the Trojans scored the next 19 points to literally save their season, save their playoff hopes. Therefore, ultimately, I think saving Lincoln Riley's job because he's got to get to the playoffs. And they win 26-21. They've won 4 Big Ten games in a row for the first time. Mekhi Lemon had a huge day, 10 catches, 153 yards and a touchdown. Brian Jackson scored a couple of touchdowns. The Trojan defense held Iowa to 108 yards in the second half. Pretty good effort. This is a good Iowa football team. They've lost to 4 ranked teams by a total of 15 points. Iowa State, Indiana, Oregon, USC. So, look, Iowa can get right next week. They got a home game against Michigan State. Again, good football team at Iowa. But USC, a better team with higher aspirations, the big one. They travel to Autzen Stadium to take on Oregon. That is at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. That'll be on CBS. And I'm going to tell you right now, that's the game we're going live after. You know, we go live on the weekends after the biggest game. That's the biggest game. So we'll go live probably about 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific for immediate live post-game reaction. That's a big one. We're very excited about that. So I'm very curious as we talk about trying to get 4 Big Ten teams into the playoffs. Indiana and Ohio State, 2. Oregon feels like it's in. My question is, if Oregon loses this game, are they out and USC is in? Well, if USC wins, they're in. They're going to be in the playoffs, I think. But can we get them both in? And then there's Michigan. If they run the table, including beating #1 Ohio State, they have a path to do it. Now, they didn't look that great against Northwestern. We'll get to that in just a minute. I mean, 5 turnovers. But as USC's getting ready to take out Oregon, let's not forget the great offensive performance that Oregon had on Friday night going into the weekend against Minnesota, where they won 42-13. Oregon down 9-1. Just Minnesota falling to 6-4. And the Ducks quarterback, Dante Moore, threw 2 touchdowns. Freshman running back Jordan Davison running for 2 touchdowns, running hard. That guy's getting better and better each and every day. 57 strong yards there, 7 carries. But Moore was almost perfect. Remember, the week before, playing in the rain in Iowa, nothing was working. I think he only had 2 passing attempts, I think, or 3 maybe in the second half of that game. This week was different. On Friday night, ideal conditions to play football. completed 90% of his passes, 27 to 30 for 306 yards. That's the highest single game percentage for any quarterback at Iowa. Think about the list: Justin Herbert, Marcus Mariota, Bo Nix, Dylan Gabriel. He's the best. Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end, back into the lineup. 8 catches, 96 yards. DeCorian Moore, wide receiver, still out with a knee. Gary Bryant Jr. still out after injuring his foot at Iowa. So the Ducks had 9 players total step up with at least 2 catches and double-digit yardage figures in the game. You talk about everybody stepping up and helping out. It was a great job. And the Ducks defense held the Gophers to 62 yards rushing. You know, the Ducks defense going in the game was number 3 in the country in total defense. I don't think a lot of people realize that about the Oregon defense. Meanwhile, the Gophers were coming off of a bye. Darius Taylor, who we like very much, just 10 carries, 57 yards, caught 4 passes for 40 yards. It was about all the offense they could get. And again, the Ducks have this huge showdown with USC next week. We can't wait for that game. So it's all about staying in the playoff mix. I mean, if Oregon wins this game, it's solid, and they're in the playoffs, no doubt about it, right? If they lose, can they still stay in there? I'd love to hear your comments on that as well. And it also kind of depends where the Tuesday rankings come out as well tomorrow. So I mentioned Michigan a minute ago. Yes, they still have a path, 18th in the country. They beat Northwestern 24-22 at Wrigley Field. Look, Michigan's 8-2. My opinion, when I watch Michigan, I don't see playoff team. I see really good bowl team, but 8-2. And if they run the table, the resume's there. They'd be in the playoffs. Now, they almost blew this game to Northwestern. And you know what? I should say Northwestern almost won this game. I don't want to say that Michigan blew it. Northwestern played hard. They are 5-5 in front of their fans at Wrigley Field. A lot of Michigan people out there too. But Michigan needed kicker Dominic Zapata who, by the way, missed from 34, missed from 60, and he made the 31-yard walk-off. His time expired to give the Wolverines their 8th win, save their season, keep their playoffs hopes alive. They turned the ball over 5 times. 5. Several times late. It was not good for them. Good for Northwestern. Bryce Underwood had 2 head-scratching interceptions late in that game. They had a solid effort from Jordan Marshall, who ran for 142 yards and 2 touchdowns before injuring his shoulder at a critical time in the 4th quarter. And that's with, Justice Haynes already out of the lineup with the foot. And so walk-on Bryson Kutzel came in. By the way, he turned it over. And Jasper Parker, a true freshman. That's who they had to lean on in crunch time for this game. But they won. Michigan's won 4 straight. And I thought Northwestern was just a hard-hitting, lights-out team. They've lost 3 in a row. They still need 1 more win for bowl eligibility. I think they deserve it. It's a good football team. They got to find a win somewhere, either by hosting Minnesota, also at Wrigley this upcoming week, and then they play Illinois for the season finale. Braden Turner had an interception and a fumble recovery for Northwestern for 2 of those 5 turnovers on the day. The Wolverines quarterback, Bryce Underwood, despite the turnovers, he did throw for 280 yards. Seems to be developing some chemistry finally with one of his receivers, and it's freshman Andrew Marsh. That's pretty good if you're a Michigan fan. These 2 young guys coming in together, 12 catches, 189 yards, most by a Michigan freshman since 1979. Michigan freshman wide receiver, I should say. So Michigan plays at Maryland next week. Maryland's on the struggle bus right now. Michigan's going to get 9 wins. I mean, they had 7 last year. They get this win next week. That's 9. And then the Ohio State game. Pretty interesting, to say the least, right? They're in as a 10-win team, right? Can they win that game? Ohio State's playing pretty well. We'll talk about them in just a little bit. In the meantime, be sure to hit that free subscribe button down below. We're getting this close to 25,000. You be the one to put us over. Put us over the top. Let's get us to 25,000 subscribers. All free, always free, but that way you never miss a single episode. You always know when we're on. And you can share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten. That would help us out, too. Don't forget, we have a website, talkbig10.com. That's with the number 10, talkbig10.com. All of our podcasts go there. You can check out Saturdays right after the games for a second listen after this. Plus, you can hit your favorite school logo on the website. Boom. Takes you to a merchandise store. You want to get shirts with your team logo on it, or your pennants or hats for the holidays, for you, for somebody else. Think about it. TalkBig10.com. We got the rest of the Big Ten teams and games. We'll talk about them. Plus, we'll have my top 10 Big Ten observations from the weekend. All of that is coming up in just 1 minute right here on Locked On Big Ten. The NBA is back. Watching games is exciting. It's even more exciting if you have a little something on them. There's no better place to get in the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game and you jump in mid-game, in-game live betting, you do it at FanDuel or parlay it with the bet you put in before the game for your chance to win even more. If you're on that hot streak, right? It keeps these games even more exciting, especially when your team's making a late push. I keep giving you this hot tip over and over. Take the overs in Miami Heat games. We're on a heater. We're on a streak. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head on over to FanDuel.com and sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. That is at FanDuel.com. Thanks for checking us out here at Locked On Big Ten and making us your first listen each and every day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Especially you everydayers out there. Thank you. Be sure to hit that free subscribe button down below. Get us to 25,000 so you never miss a single episode. And you can share, follow, and like if you don't mind. That helps us out too. Don't forget our website, talkbig10.com. All right. The Indiana Hoosiers, the #2 team in the country, still undefeated. They beat Wisconsin. Wisconsin has struggled this year. There's no question. It was Indiana's last home game of the regular season. Indiana won it 31-7. I will tell you, this game was 10-7 at the half. Wisconsin came to play, and Indiana just couldn't get it going. They looked bad. They just couldn't get it going. But Indiana is now 11-0 for the first time in school history. Wisconsin falls to 3-7. But the Hoosier defense held Wisconsin only 23 yards in the second half, 8 tackles for loss and had an interception. I think Kurt Cignetti lit a few fires in the locker room at halftime, and they were able to pull away and shut down Wisconsin in the second half. Heisman candidate, Indiana quarterback, Fernando Mendoza, completed 92% of his passes. I just told you a minute ago how Dante Moore completed 90% of his passes for a school record at Oregon. Mendoza had 4 touchdowns and 2 incomplete passes. Not interceptions, incomplete passes. So he had twice as many touchdowns as incomplete passes on the day, 299 yards with those 4 touchdowns. Just absolutely remarkable. The Hoosiers have also won 15 in a row at home for the first time ever. And I believe when Alabama lost this weekend, I believe the Hoosiers now have the longest winning streak at home in college football. So Mendoza threw for his school record 30th touchdown pass of the season. The previous record was 29. Curtis Rourke from last year did it. The record lasted a year. A little 5-yarder to last week's hero at the Penn State game, Omar Cooper Jr. And it was not an easy day for Mendoza, though. He was sacked by the Badgers 5 times on the day. In fact, at one point, had to go to the tent and get looked at. He didn't look great late in the second half, but he was fine. Went back out there and then gave way to his brother. But the Badgers have lost to 5 ranked teams this season. We all know the Badgers' schedule is just incredibly tough. Plus, they're having a hard time anyway. So the schedule's not doing them any favors. And they've not beaten a top 10 team since 2019. But we've noted here on this podcast, you everydayers know whenever we talk about the Badgers, as Luke Fickell is winding down year 3, and we know he will be back next year, his biggest problem has been he's blown it with quarterback. Every year he's missed on quarterback. Whoever he's brought in as a transfer or whatever, he's just missed. However, I think Wisconsin may have its quarterback in the future. Freshman Carter Smith out of Bishop Verot in Fort Myers, former Michigan commit. But then when Michigan started talking to Bryce Underwood, he said, I'm going to go somewhere else. He landed at Wisconsin, made his first career start, made his second appearance, and his numbers aren't going to jump off the page. He was 9-15 for 98 yards. 45 of them came on one play when Lance Mason got behind the Indiana defense and was gone. But putting all that aside, I think he passes the eyeball test. Look, he's only in his second game, his first start. I thought there was some there when I saw him play. A little bit of presence, good arm, and you just got to kind of figure it out instead of walking into sacks or pressure, figuring out the pocket. I think he'll get there. I think Luke Fickell will have a quarterback next year at Wisconsin. That's how I see it right now. Love to hear from you Badger fans if you agree or disagree. So Indiana now goes on a bye. They're going to get healed up. Remember, they still don't have their number one receiver, Elijah Surratt. Then they close out at Purdue in 2 weeks, and then presumably the Big Ten championship game, maybe against the Ohio State Buckeyes. Let's talk about the Ohio State Buckeyes. They beat UCLA 48-10. Buckeyes are now 10-0, 7-0 in the conference. Got to play at home under the lights at a night game on Saturday for a change. Carnell Tate was out. Jeremiah Smith was limited. He wasn't himself. 4 catches, 40 yards. Amazing one-handed 18-yard catch, though, on that opening drive. Julian Sand came out swinging, completed his first 11 passes, 18 of 21 on the day for a modest 184 yards and a touchdown. Ohio State rushed for 222 yards. James People scored 2 touchdowns. But on the 19-yard touchdown he hurdled a UCLA defender, took off at the 10, landed at the 7, stuck the landing, and kept going on. And then usually somebody will get tripped up with an ankle or a toe or something like that. Clear hurdle. Was able to do it in full stride. Very impressive. Bo Jackson also ran 15 times for 112 yards and a touchdown. Lorenzo Styles had a 100-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. First Buckeyes kickoff return for a touchdown since Ted Ginn 20 years ago. Meanwhile, for UCLA, quarterback Luke Duncan made his first career start. Nico Iamaleava, who last was at Ohio State as a member of the Tennessee Vols in the playoff game, he's been in concussion protocol all week and was a scratch from the game. And the Bruins never crossed the 50-yard line until a minute 44 to go in the third quarter. The Bruins have now dropped 3 straight after winning 3 straight. UCLA hosts Washington on Saturday. Ohio State gets to host Rutgers. The Penn State-Michigan State game. Who was going to win? Nobody. Think about this for a minute. Just think about this for a minute. We're in mid-November going into this game, and neither Penn State or Michigan State has a Big Ten win. Until now. Penn State pulled it out. They win 28-10 to improve to 4-6. First win of the Big Ten. Michigan State falls to 3-7. They've yet to win a Big Ten game. Ethan Grunkamar threw a couple of touchdown passes to Devontae Ross, and running back Katron Allen rushed for a career high 181 yards, 2 touchdowns for the win. And Penn State snapped a 6-game losing streak, got their first conference win of the season. And now this is hard to believe. If Penn State beats Nebraska at home and then at Rutgers to close out the season, Penn State's going to be bowl eligible. Can you imagine that? Yeah, look, they'll be bowl eligible. A bad season and all. Maybe they can salvage it. I'll be curious to see who plays, if they play, if they turn it down. I don't know what they're going to do. Meanwhile, Michigan State has lost 7 straight. Michigan State gave up 5 sacks. So they've surrendered 35 for the year. That's why Aiden Childs is banged up wearing a boot on the sideline, by the way. Earlier in the week, as we mentioned here on a podcast, I think it was on Friday's podcast, we put it out, the full story out. It was earlier in the week, though. The NCAA put Michigan State on 3 years probation for violations under Mel Tucker, which was Jonathan Smith's predecessor. Jonathan Smith made his first comments publicly about it. It's the first time he's been around to answer questions. And he said he did not know that there was even an investigation taking place when he took the job. He did find out later. Sounds like everybody's kind of unhappy over there. Meanwhile, Maryland at Illinois. Illinois wins this one 24-6 to improve to 7-3. Maryland has now lost 6 straight. Luke Altmaier threw 2 touchdown passes, both to Hudson Clement, and Altmaier also rushed for 62 yards. Caden Fegan rushed for 81 yards and a touchdown. Now, for the Terps, the school, much like Wisconsin did with Luke Fickell, they announced they have a new AD there, right, at Maryland. A lot of times that means change is afoot. But Jim Smith announced that Mike Loxley will be back to coach the team next year, and he promised more resources for the football program. Same story as Wisconsin. Got to spend more money. Got to invest more. Name, image, and likeness, revenue share, whatever you want to call it. Got to do a better job for these coaches before we go ahead and fire them. So, yeah, that's good, right? Malik Washington for the Terps, 25 of 46 for 238. DeJuan Williams, 8 catches, 50 yards, rushed for 43 yards. And Jalen Husky made a diving interception off Altmaier in the first half. I mention that because that's 8 straight games where the Terps have hauled in an interception, but it was their 18th interception of the season. They're phenomenal back there in the secondary. That's number 1 in the Big Ten, by the way, 18 interceptions. That's incredible. And Altmaier does not throw interceptions. In fact, that was just his 5th of the season. So back to Illinois for a minute and Brett Bielema. They're 7-3. They got Wisconsin and Northwestern. They win those 2, 9-3. You get a bowl win, 10-3, which matches last year's record. That would be back-to-back 10-win seasons for Brett Bielema at Illinois. Remarkable. And let's not forget Washington won at home against Purdue, 49-13. Washington improves to 7-3, 4-3 the Big Ten. Purdue falls to 2-9. They've lost 9 straight. Now they're 0-8 in the Big Ten. But Washington's been banged up. Jonah Coleman out. Adam Muhammad rushing for a career-high 3 touchdowns in the Huskies' 49-13 win. By the way, Coleman did dress and warmed up, but then decided not to play. So maybe that's good. It's not as dire as it looks. He was injured versus Wisconsin last week. Redshirt freshman running back Jordan Washington scored his first career touchdown on a nice 68-yard run. Quarterback Damon Williams Jr. found freshman wide receiver Audric Harris for a 61-yard touchdown pass. So the team's leading receiver Denzel Boston is still out with bad ankles. But you hear me talking about these freshmen and these young kids stepping up. Everybody's stepping up when they need to. There's still a lot of talent coming up at Washington. Meanwhile, the Boilermakers threw for just 167 yards. It's 5 straight games that they have failed to reach 200 yards passing. And remember, the Huskies defensive coordinator, Ryan Walters, was Purdue's head coach, who they fired last year. So I'm sure he enjoyed that win as well. Washington is at UCLA on Saturday. Purdue hosting Indiana in 2 weeks. I promised every team, every game. We did it. We still have my top 10 Big Ten observations for the weekend. I will share those with you. Plus, we have the actual kickoff times and the networks a little earlier this week than we normally do for the games coming up this weekend, week 13. Can you believe it? We'll cover all that coming up here in 1 minute on Locked On Big Ten. College football is as exciting as ever. Crunch time, these big games coming up, rivalry weekend in a couple of weekends. You can go, I mean, we can watch it on TV or talk about it here on podcasts. You can actually go be part of the tailgates and all that with Game Time. Tailgate parties, the energy in the stands, the rivalries, nothing like it. So, but then again, are you the guy that has to get the tickets for your group? Okay, no problem. That used to cause some stress. No problem now. We got Game Time. Download the Game Time app, couple of taps, and you're good to go. Plus, you can see the view of the seats you're about to buy and make sure they're good before you buy. Checkout is easy. No surprise with the prices at the end. What you see is what you get. So it gives the advantage back to the fans for buying tickets with Game Time. And you can even do it last minute. So after a couple of taps, you get an amazing deal. You can go to your favorite college football game for as low as $25 with Game Time. It's faster, it's cheaper, it's less stressful. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Thanks for checking us out here on Locked On Big Ten. We always close it out with a feature here. On Mondays, we always do my top 10 Big Ten observations from the weekend. We'll put them on a screen here. If you're audio only, Spotify, Apple, that's fine. No problem. Let you know we have audio version, video version. We have it all here on Locked On. So I'll put it on screen. It's just a list. We're going to work our way up 10 to 1. School logos and names. I want to give a couple of honorable mentions. First of all, Washington running back Adam Muhammad with his 3 touchdowns in for Jonah Coleman, and did that against Purdue. I want to give him an honorable mention there. At number 10, Andrew Marsh. He's the freshman wide receiver at Michigan, 12 catches, 189 yards. Again, finally, a receiver stepping up with a little bit of chemistry with Bryce Underwood. That could be good moving forward. They could keep this going. I should also give an honorable mention to Dominic Zvada with the game-winning kick versus Northwestern for Michigan. Although they kind of put themselves in a hole with the 5 turnovers, lost the lead, and then had to come back. I don't want to take away from Dominic for making that kick. He did miss a couple of kicks earlier in the day as well. Dante Moore, Oregon, on the list with his 90% completion rate, 306 yards versus Minnesota on Friday night. He's dialed it. Hey, he's like, see, if it's not freezing rain like I had in Iowa the week before, I could throw the ball pretty well. Also, speaking of throwing the ball pretty well, Indiana's Fernando Mendoza, not to one-up Dante Moore, but he did. 92% completion, 4 touchdowns, only 2 incomplete passes on the day versus Wisconsin. He was phenomenal. Heisman leader, probably, right there. Also on the list, I want to give a shout out to Maryland's defense for that interception against Illinois. 18 interceptions on the year. That is number 1 in the Big Ten. That is phenomenal. Northwestern's defense. You come up with 5 turnovers against Michigan, you're going to make our list. Number 6, probably not high enough, but congratulations to them. This is a good football team. I really do hope that they get to be bowl eligible. They need one more win to do it. Penn State's Katron Allen makes our list, a career high 181 yards and 2 touchdowns versus Michigan State as the Nittany Lions get their first conference win of the season. It had been a long time. They had lost 6 straight. They forgot what it felt like to win. And that one was on the road. I'm sure they like to do it in front of the home fans, right? Want to talk about Iowa's offense. We don't talk about Iowa's offense in top 10 Big Ten observations very often, but their Philly special play or whatever you want to call it, Iowa special, Hawkeye special, little reverse, and then a throw to Mark Gronowski, the quarterback, making the catch for the touchdown in the end zone. That was pretty good. That was pretty good against USC. Put them up 21-7, I think, at that point. But USC came storming back, so we got to put Mekhi Lemon in there with his 10 catches, 153 yards and a touchdown versus the Iowa Hawkeyes. Not only did he make the 10 catches, a lot of them were at key times when they needed to keep drives moving, keep the game going. He was pretty good. And Ohio State's Lorenzo Styles going to make the list pretty high up here for the 100-yard kickoff return touchdown versus UCLA. I can't believe it's been 20 years since Ohio State has had a kickoff return for a touchdown. Ted Ginn, 2005 was the last time. And then number 1 on our list, the play that James Peoples made, the hurdle and the score. He hurdled, he landed, and then kept running and scored the touchdown for the Ohio State Buckeyes. That tops out our top 10 Big Ten observations that we do every Monday. Tomorrow we'll have Tuesday tweets. Hit me up on X or Twitter. I'll put it on the program. Wednesdays, we power rank the standings. Thursdays, Big Ten observation or our Big Ten classics and live action. Then Friday, we make our pigskin picks. But we always have something fun for you at the end of each and every podcast. In case you're new here, that's just how we roll. Thanks so much for checking us out. We're here every day, usually with multiple podcasts, all things Big Ten, all 18 teams, news, analysis of that news, and opinion on that news. And I know since you're checking us out, you're a Big Ten fan. That means you know other Big Ten people. Let them know we're out here. Hit the little share arrow, send this podcast their way, or tell them about it word of mouth. We really appreciate it. No matter what you do, hit that free subscribe button. You be the one to push us over the top. It's 25,000. We're getting close. It's always free, by the way. So thank you very much for doing that. And I want to let you know one programming note for this weekend. Again, we will go live right after the USC-Oregon game. That's a 3:30 Eastern kick, 12:30 Pacific. So when that's over, we'll go live, probably be about 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific for my immediate raw post-game reaction. I get yours too, instant live feedback. It is fantastic. We always have a good time. So mark your calendars to join us after that game. That's clearly the biggest game on the Big Ten schedule here this weekend. And you college football fans, Locked On and Fire TV present the College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation along two-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson and former college star Jesse Holley and a bunch of our Locked On experts, all giving you everything you need to know each and every weekend, getting you ready for the games. That's the college football preview that only Locked On can do. So catch the College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. Tomorrow we're going to do I'll tell you what, this week we're going to spend a lot of time talking about USC and Oregon, getting ready for this big game. And of course, we'll cover everything, all things Big Ten throughout the weekend, and we'll have our Tuesday tweets tomorrow as well. So join us for all that. Thanks for joining us here today. For Locked On Big Ten, I'm Craig Shemon. We'll see you next time.